Hello, Mr. Kincaid here. We've been talking about roadblocks to good communication, and one of those roadblocks to good communication is the use of ambiguous pronouns. And before we get too deeply into this, we probably ought to start off with what a pronoun is. A pronoun is a word that takes the place of a noun. They're words like he, she, it, we, they, words that keep us from having to repeat the same noun over and over and over. And pronouns are a really good tool because they serve a really functional purpose with our language, but they can also give us problems. They're a tool, and just like any tool, they can serve a good purpose or they can create problems. And so let's take a look at what that problem is with when the pronouns are ambiguous. And ambiguous means it could mean one of a few different distinct possibilities. So let's take a look at what it says here. Each pronoun must have a clear connection to its antecedent. And let's take a look at what the word antecedent means. It is the word that the pronoun takes the place of. So if you said, Fred is my friend, he's a good guy, well, he is the pronoun and Fred is the antecedent. It's called the antecedent because this word, or this syllable here, anti, does not mean anti as in A-N-T-I. It's not against or the opposite of something. Anti means before. So the word should come before the pronoun. You want to introduce who that person is or what this thing is before you start using pronouns. Otherwise, we won't know what the pronoun refers to. We won't know what it means. So the antecedent is the noun that the pronoun replaces. Okay, so we're going to use that language as we progress through this. Here's an example of a really simple example of an ambiguous pronoun and what you can do to take care of it. My dad took my brother fishing. He had a great time. Okay, the problem is that the communication breaks down because we're not sure who had a great time. We've got a pronoun he right here, and we also have two possible antecedents, dad and brother, and we don't know who had a great time, the dad or the brother, or maybe it was both. I don't know. People are getting a little sloppy with their pronouns. It could mean lots of different things. So with just a little bit of rearranging of the terms of the phrasing, we can clarify it. My dad had a great time when he took my brother fishing. So here's the pronoun. The only possible antecedent, the only possible noun that comes prior to the pronoun is dad. And the other noun now is after, so it's not a possible antecedent, and you've clarified your meaning. Now, that seems like a really simple, kind of a non-threatening example, but you can imagine if a situation like this were to occur in a courtroom, in a legal situation, in a police report, in a business report, how things could really get messed up, and the wrong person could end up getting arrested, or something could be shipped to the wrong town or something like that and cost the company money and possibly cost someone their job. So ambiguous pronouns are a real problem. And I have an example here of kind of you can read through that if you want to, but it's full of ambiguous pronouns. And I do want to point out this fun little exercise here. If your dog does a poo, please put it in the litter bin. Well, the ambiguous pronoun here is it, and the two possible antecedents are here, dog and poo. And of course, the person put the dog in instead of what was supposed to go in the litter bin. So these can be funny, but they can also be really problematic. All right, let's just take a look at some simple examples here. The first one, Roberta, Tamika, and Danielle were the smartest kids in the class. She will probably be the valedictorian. All right, so the problem here is that she is a pronoun, and we have three possible antecedents. These look like female names, and she is the female singular pronoun. We're not sure who's going to be the valedictorian. And the thing is, you can't really correct an ambiguous pronoun unless you wrote it yourself, because the only person who knows the correct answer, the correct antecedent is the person who wrote it. So if you're doing some peer evaluation, you're looking at other people's papers, and you see that the pronoun is ambiguous, you can't really correct it yourself. You just have to point it out to the person who wrote it and ask that person to rearrange the sentence so that the pronoun is clear. All right, the next one, same situation, right? We have Bobby, Julio, and Muhammad turned in their projects early. Their teacher, the teacher was especially impressed with his. Well, this is kind of a case in which the writer is expecting the readers to read his or her mind. Who was the teacher especially impressed with? Bobby, Julio, or Muhammad? We don't know. The person who wrote the sentence is the only one who knows. It's the only person who can correct it. So we have to make sure that those are clear. So let's say Muhammad was the guy who was especially did an impressive job. So we could say Bobby, Julio, and Muhammad turned in their projects early. The teacher was especially impressed with Muhammad's. All you have to do is put the actual antecedent in the place of the pronoun, and you've got it made. There are lots of other ways to correct them also. All right, let's take a look at number 3. The wind will power the boat if it goes fast enough. Well, the pronoun here is it, and we're not quite sure if this means the wind or the boat. And I suppose either one of those could make sense, but you shouldn't leave your readers guessing what the antecedent to the pronoun is. So that's our goal, is to make sure we don't create situations like that. Let's take a look at just a few more examples. Number 4, the dogs often chased the cats, but sometimes they ran away. All right, so this part makes sense. Dogs chasing cats, okay. But sometimes they ran away. This could have two different meanings. So the dogs often chase the cats, but sometimes the dogs ran away. Sometimes the dogs are afraid of the cats, so they ran away. Or sometimes the cats ran away. And so you can see how there are two very different interpretations of that sentence. And we don't want to leave our readers guessing. We want to make sure that whatever we write is as clear as possible. Number 5 is a situation that is something that happens to me in the classroom a lot. A kid will show up 5 minutes late to class, and I will say, "Do you have a pass?" And the student will say, "She didn't give me one." And I just kind of look at the kid and, as if to say, well, okay, who's she? I give up. I can't read your mind. I have to be able to read the language that you use. All right, let's take a look then at number 6. I liked the vanilla ice cream and the chocolate sauce. That was my favorite. Okay, so the pronoun we see is that, and we're not quite sure what that refers to. I always discourage my students from starting sentences with just simply the word that, because we're not quite sure how far back into the previous sentence or sentences we have to go to clarify what that refers to. It could be an entire paragraph. It could be just about anything. So in this case, we're looking for nouns because those are what pronouns replace. Vanilla ice cream is one noun. And chocolate sauce is the other noun. So we have two possible antecedents. But this one gets even more complicated because we have vanilla ice cream and the chocolate sauce. So there's two, but then a third possibility could be, are we talking about vanilla ice cream with chocolate sauce on top? So there's a lot of confusion going on there. What was your favorite? Now in this case, we're just talking about ice cream and chocolate sauce, nothing earth-shattering, or probably nothing dangerous is going to happen if you don't communicate in this situation. The worst thing that could happen is probably somebody would bring you the wrong kind of ice cream or something like that. But anyway, we want to make sure our language is crystal clear, or at least as clear as possible. Number 7, the Cardinals play the Cubs tonight. They are favored to win. Well, here's the pronoun. We've got two different teams. The two different teams are plurals, and there's a plural pronoun. And we don't know who's favored to win. So the pronoun is ambiguous. All right, we're going to skip the rest of these. You can rewind and try to figure out the rest of those on your own. But then we have a couple of other examples that get a little more complicated with this next set of of questions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the example here. My job at the Jiffy Car Wash was to take off the take the hubcaps off the wheels and wash them. And the question is, wait a minute, are we supposed to wash the hubcaps? Are we supposed to wash the wheels? Are we supposed to wash both? So you could see a situation in which somebody's new to a job and the boss is explaining what your job is, and the explanation doesn't cover or doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so you do what you think is right rather than asking for clarification, and then maybe getting in trouble, maybe even losing your job because you only wash the wheels, or you only wash the hubcaps, or you wash both of them, and the boss is angry because you took too much time doing something you weren't supposed to do. So you can see the kinds of problems that this kind of miscommunication can create. All right, the second one, I threw my radio against the wall and shattered it. Well, the it is the pronoun, and which one is it? Is it the radio? Is it the wall? Nobody knows except for the person who created this this sentence. All right. Let's take a look at just a couple of. Let's go ahead and skip down. You can rewind and kind of do some of these on your own. But let's take a look at this one. I think this is really unique because of how different the two possible examples are. Some parents resort to extreme punishments because they work. All right, so we have the pronoun they. What are the possible antecedents? Well, they is plural, so the antecedent also has to be plural. Punishments is one possible antecedent. Parents is another possible antecedent. And let's plug both of those into this position and see how different they are. So some parents resort to extreme punishments because the punishments work. So the parents get the desired results for doing something really severe to the child, or because the parents work. Wait a minute, so parents punish their kids severely because the parents are gainfully employed? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but you can see how the confusion would come about by just creating a situation in which there's a pronoun here and then two possible antecedents. Let's rearrange that sentence so that we don't have that problem. All right, let's move on, and we'll take a look at a couple of other cases that don't really involve ambiguous pronouns so much as they are just really messy kinds of pronoun situations. In this case, doing metric conversion is easy. We're on number 10. It doesn't take a genius to figure it out. All right, so in this case, we have two pronouns, it, and we're not quite sure which one of those it's is covered by what noun. I don't know. This is really confusing. So when you have a pronoun, you're looking for an antecedent, and if the antecedent to your pronoun is another pronoun, boy, now we've got some real confusion. We need to take care of that. We might just simplify this whole sentence by saying, or maybe even getting rid of that second sentence, or saying it doesn't take a genius to figure out metric conversion. So you've got lots of different options there. Let's move on down to number 12. Now, number 12 is not an ambiguous pronoun problem. It's what I call an unnecessary pronoun. And in this case, the sentence says, in many states, they do not require the test for the renewal of a driver's license. All right, so they is the pronoun. What is the antecedent? Well, in this case, the only thing that could be the antecedent is right there in front of the pronoun. So if you're going to put a pronoun right after the antecedent, you're kind of wasting words. And one of the rules about writing is that when you put words on a page, they're usually either going to contribute to the meaning, or they're going to take away from the meaning, or maybe even create a stumbling block for your readers to trip over on their way to creating meaning. So let's just simplify this and get rid of some things and say, many states do not require a test for the renewal of a driver's license. So that way we can just get rid of the pronoun, leave the antecedent, and then get rid of the word in, and it makes perfect sense. Same principle applies to number 13. It says in the article that the number of reentry students is increasing rapidly. Well, what is it? Well, it is the article. So let's just get rid of all this extra stuff and say the article says that the number of reentry students is increasing rapidly. Okay, so those are not necessarily ambiguous pronouns so much as they are just unnecessary pronouns, and we want to get rid of those also. We're going to take a look at one more example of something that's just sort of a messy pronoun situation. The Keeshond has been a guard dog for centuries, unlike other breeds that have been trained for it. All right, so the pronoun in this case is the word it. But there's not any noun anywhere in this sentence that you could replace the word it with and make it make sense. Would it be Keeshond that has been trained for Keeshond, that has been trained for guard dog, that has been trained for, well, there's really no other singular noun there we could use. So we're not sure what it stands for. There is no possible antecedent to the pronoun. And so we have to come up with another word there. The Keeshond has been a guard dog for centuries, unlike other breeds that have been trained for the job. Perhaps there are lots of other good examples you can take a look at. But this is what I mean by ambiguous pronouns. We want to make sure that we make our pronoun antecedent relationships clear. We don't want to leave our audience asking a lot of questions about, wait a minute, what does it stand for? Who are they? Who is she? We want to make that clear in our writing. And again, one of the reasons why we do this is because we do it with our speaking. And when you're speaking to somebody directly face to face, you have an immediate audience there. And if the person doesn't know what you're talking about, then that person can ask for clarification. We don't have that luxury with writing, so we really have to be extra careful with how we use our language with writing. You don't have that second chance to go back and clarify things on the spot like you do with casual conversation. So this is our short lesson on ambiguous pronouns. Hope it helps, and I hope you can apply this to your own writing and to be able to find it in the writing of the people whose papers you're peer evaluating, and just keep this in mind as you're creating your papers and as you're revising your papers, and it'll make your language usage so much better, and hopefully it'll improve your grades as well. All right, so have a great day. Bye-bye.